here we are, the Kingdom of Firene.
What a beautiful place.
Isn't it? And no sign of the corrupted, so that's good. That was quite a trip. Crossing the sea all the way from Lethos. I hope you're not worn out.
I'm fine.
Good, good. Listen, I'm sorry for twisting your arm to come with me.
Alfred, it's all right. I wanted to come. How about before we arrive at the castle, you tell me more about this kingdom of yours?
Happy to. Let's see. Firene is one of the 4 nations of Helios in the southwest. It's ruled by my mother, Queen Ev. We're known as, Land of Plenty. Our people value peace above all else. We haven't seen war for centuries.
You must come from a long line of capable leaders.
That's kind of you to say. Peace doesn't always come easy. Mother had to hammer out a non-aggression pact with our neighbors. The pact says there won't be war between us, Solm, and Brodia.
Right. Solm, the Queendom of Freedom, and Brodia, the Kingdom of Might.
You've got it. Solm is an open-minded country. They've always had good relations with Firene, but an alliance with Brodia took some doing. Their king's an ambitious man. He's always launching attacks on Elusia to expand his own territory.
I take it Elusia isn't in the alliance.
No. Honestly, they're so far away, we don't interact with them too much. We know it's snowy there, with long winters, and that some Elusians worship the Fell Dragon.
The Fell Dragon?
It's troubling, I know. But people can believe what they believe. Sorry, I didn't bring it up to turn you against Elusia.
It's not them I hate. It's the Fell Dragon. Him and the one who killed my mother. Can you tell me more about the emblem ring that was entrusted to Firene?
Oh, sure. It's the Ring of the Caring Princess. Doesn't look like anything special. Until I met you and Marth, I thought the emblems were legends. I can't wait to tell my sister they exist. She'll really be knocked for a loop.
You have a sister.
Yeah, the Princess of Firene, Céline. She's at the castle with Mother right now.
Princess Céline. I look forward to meeting her.
Just call her Céline. I'm sure you two will get along great. Here's Flora Milltown. Castle's close now. We'll just cut through here and... something's off.
What is it?
I think there might be trouble ahead. Oh no.
The corrupted. They're everywhere.
I can't stand to see them overrunning this peaceful town. I have to drive them away. Divine One, will you help me?
Of course.
Danger looms from every side. I fear we will never make it to my brother.
Princess Céline, I beg you to make your retreat. We'll handle this.
More of the fiends might be on the way. Hurry! Louis, Chloé, you can't possibly expect me to.
It is our sworn duty to protect the princess. We will hold the line for you as long as we must.
You have to leave. If you should fall here, who warns Prince Alfred of the invasion to come?
I concede the point, but I'll return for you both. Please hold out until then.
Apologies, Chloé. It pains me greatly to separate you from Princess Céline for even a relatively brief amount of time.
Might I say, I'm a bit disappointed I didn't get to see you run off with Her Highness yourself. A knight should never leave his princess's side.
The sooner we win, the sooner that will come to pass. What say you, Chloé? Shall we?
Yes, let's.
The previous map was our introduction to tactics, baiting enemies, positioning correctly, etc. This map is the first to introduce strategic considerations. We have 3 new weapons to assign that you get from the free Heroes DLC in the eShop. Most importantly, we can now reassign emblem rings. We have to figure out who gets Sigurd, and we could potentially reassign Marth. The Heroes DLC also gives us 3 bond rings, which are like emblem rings without the pizzazz. You can of course have fun with all sorts of ring assignments, but I think for maximizing team strength, there's a clear path forward. It's tempting to think only of your long-term plans. If you're going to keep using Etier, for instance, you might think she should get an emblem. I'd advise against that for 2 reasons. First, we can buy bond ranks after Chapter 5, so if we want to train someone, we can rush them to level 5 or level 10 without combat. Conversely, the next map is rather difficult, and having bond rings built up on units who can use that power effectively will make it easier. Second, we just don't have many strong units or room to maneuver right now, which makes it hard to train someone who can't immediately pull their weight. If we focus on getting some breathing room for the next few maps, we'll then have the freedom to train up whoever we want. So, how are we accessorizing our squad? Alear has bond rank 5 with Marth, which is a big advantage over any other partner. As the only unit we have to deploy every map, it makes sense to train her up. She also has dibs on Folkvanger, a strong sword with a niche conditional effect, because no one else can wield it. Vander is, well, Vander. LTC aside, he's a dreadful investment target. Clan doesn't want Marth or Sigurd, who are both physically oriented, and he can't use any of our new weapons. We're giving him a ring that gives +2 speed so he can hit some doubling thresholds, but this is not his time to shine. Fram's on healing and chain guard duty, and she doesn't need anything to help her do that. Alfred gets Sigurd, which is such a natural pairing that the game's guide shows them together. I'll discuss Sigurd once the map starts, but for thinking about who to give him to, all we need to know is that Sigurd has extra synergy with lance wielders and cavalry. He also gets Venselir for the same reason Alear got Folkvanger. Etier doesn't have any new toys, but I do give her a bond ring. Effects that work on adjacent allies synergize well with 2 range units. You can proc the effect while attacking the same foe. Boucheron gets Noatun. Vander could also take it, but Boucheron actually stands to gain experience. He gets the best bond ring. It's basically half of Divinely Inspiring and some useful stats. He doesn't have a 2-range option right now, but he'll get one shortly. Alfred can start far away from the action, he'll be fine. Etier, Boucheron, and Clan get ready to move forward, while Fram, Alear, and Vander can stay behind. Let's get started, shall we?
Céline? What are you doing here? I thought you were with Mother.
I was, but Alfred, the Elusian army is marching on the castle.
What? Why?
I cannot say. Before they arrived, Mother sent me to warn you. But then we were ambushed on our way to Flora Port. Louis and Chloé stayed behind so that I might have a chance to escape. Please, we must hurry back to them.
Absolutely.
Pardon me, Princess Céline, but do you have the emblem ring?
Yes, Mother gave it to me. Why do you... Goodness gracious! The Divine Dragon? You're here! You're awake!
I am.
May I say, it is truly an honor. The emblem ring is right here. Please, Divine One, it is yours.
The words. They're coming to me. Care for us, Emblem of Echoes. I am Emblem Celica. I detest violence, but I will always fight to defend the innocent. Thank you for answering my call.
So, this is the emblem that was in Firene's ring.
Emblem Celica? How marvelous! Divine One, with your blessing, and hers of course, I would like to fight by Celica's side. I must protect the people of this village and ensure Louis and Chloé's safety.
I entrust this ring to you, Céline.
I won't be able to get very far with these archers everywhere.
How about this? I take care of the archers and you deal with the magic users.
Good idea. While their spells will go right through your armor, I'm resistant to magic. So leave the mages to me. It's not so bad protecting each other, now is it?
Indeed. This is a nice change of pace.
We have 2 new emblems and 3 new recruits. Sigurd starts the trend of emblems that bend the rules. Where Marth's kit basically gave a unit a huge buff to combat, Sigurd lets you do things that you can't replicate with stats. His primary sync skill, Canter, lets a unit move 2 spaces after their action. It's hard to overstate how good Canter is, and luckily for us, it's inheritable. Canter is the best inheritable skill by a mile. Units that can get this early have a serious advantage in the mid-game from mobility alone. Sigurd isn't just Canter. His Engage skill, Gallop, is movement plus 5, which is as good as it sounds. He gains a sync skill, Momentum, which lets units convert that big movement into big damage on player phase. Movement's always great, but in Engage it shines more than you might think. Engage's movement tools are surprisingly limited. If you want to do something that requires moving a unit one tile more than normal before Chapter 15, you have two options, a tightly controlled supply of staves like Warp and Sigurd. There's no universal access to Shove, no Warp spell that recharges per map, no Stride, and no Para. That's one of the biggest reasons the Cantor is so good. It's essentially impossible to replace the extra movement, even if you're only using it to go forward faster. His Engage attack, Override, attacks through a line of enemies with a sword or lance. The dopamine hit from this is incredible. The designers did unfortunately remember you had this tool when designing maps. Next chapter, an Override is handed to us on a silver platter, and a few other early game maps have setups for a juicy one, but you won't find 10 enemies in a line waiting to get lanced going forward. The one time you will is Sigurd's Paralog, where you can't. Nice one, Intelligent Systems. It is nonetheless possible to manipulate many enemies into a formation where Override is effective. With Momentum's boost, the Rider's Bane or a strong smash weapon can sometimes get those awesome one-shots, but it's not common. A single lance hit can only do so much. Rest assured, I will leave no stone unturned looking for awesome overrides, and there's some fun ones to look forward to. Sigurd doesn't really get much better than he is at the start. His Engage weapons are fine, but compared to the other emblems, they're nothing to write home about. As the game goes on, powerful mixed enemy groups make it much harder to Leroy Jenkins into enemy lines and survive. He also suffers from his own success. On an optimal team, everyone who wants Sigurd inherits Cantor, so it's as if he doesn't have a primary sync skill. Sigurd's stat spread is great for strong, durable units in the early game. He'll let a unit like Alfred or Louis get to the action, hit enemies, and use a big override to either take a lot of kills or weaken foes for others. As the game progresses, simply winning in combat becomes harder, and Sigurd doesn't really help you do that. You may very well end up giving him to your dancer later on, when your primary combatants have better options. Despite that lackluster finish, Sigurd is one of the emblems that would be the hardest to play completely without. We will definitely appreciate him. Now we have a package deal, Céline and Celica. Céline, the Princess of Fiorne, stands out compared to the squad we got last chapter. There's no one else quite like her in Engage. She's well-rounded, and all of her stats are good. It's a little unfortunate her standouts are Resistance and the best luck in the game, however. As a general rule, especially for future recruits, Royals should either use their personal class or be benched. It's not that every Royal class is amazing, but rather that they're unique. Celine's the best VDOM in the game, but maybe a top 10 Mage Knight. If you're using Céline, it's probably because you're interested in VDOM's combination of mixed offense, swords, tomes, staves, and the mystical style. Sage has the last 3 of those, so if we're looking to differentiate Céline from her comrades, we should look at mixed offenses and swords. Mixed offense in VDOM isn't quite what you'd hope for. Without a physical 1-2 ranged sword, it's hard to use her strength on enemy phase, where it would be quite useful for killing mages. She can reliably deal with magic on player phase when she's able to reach foes. Swords are conversely better than they look. Yes, no equivalent to javelins or hand axes hurts, but magic is better on enemy phase anyway. The real prizes are the Levin sword and choosing a weapon for engage attacks. The Levin sword comes in chapter 12, but you can cheat the system by forging one early. I generally recommend doing so even if you don't use Céline, but if you are using her, I would rush it in the next few chapters. It has 13 might and uses magic. It's quickly outclassed by lighter tomes for enemy phase combat, but in the early game there's no better way to deal magical damage. Unlike tomes, the Levin sword also makes sense in engage attacks. Marth and Sigurd both can use swords for their engage attack, and that will hold up throughout the game. Most Fire Emblem lords use swords, and so that weapon type is overrepresented in the pool. Using the Levin sword is often the best way to maximize these attacks. Céline can override with a 13 might sword, use the mystical bonus to add an extra 25% of magic to her damage, and do that while hitting enemies on resistance. Lodestar Rush doesn't have quite the same synergy, but it's still more powerful than what Alir's doing right now by a fair margin. If you forge a Levin Sword starting maybe chapter 6 or 7, Céline can use Sigurd and the Levin Sword to hit damage benchmarks that other characters can't. She can use those emblems to get experience, at which point she's approaching one-round benchmarks on many enemies with at least one of her weapons. If you early promote her, she'll also have staves, freeing up a deployment slot if you aren't using Frame long term. Few early units can make the game easier the way Céline does with that investment. Her personal ability adds to that utility package, making healing items better to offset the staff use you'd be missing when she's attacking. In the mid-game, it becomes much tougher to thrive on the basis of well-rounded stats, and forged Elfires start being the weapon of choice for units with tomes. Like her brother, she can end up just falling short. Not enough speed and build to double with the Levin Sword, not enough magic to one-run with tomes, and not enough defense to be a tank. If you aren't using many early game units and an early Master Seal isn't that precious, I'd argue Céline still contributed a lot even if you bench her at some point. She can be a great unit as soon as chapter 6 and put in a ton of work in those difficult maps, so even if she's falling off by chapter 15, she can pass the Levin Sword off to other users with her head held high. You can certainly just keep stacking stats and make Céline a great enemy phase unit after that, but it gets significantly more difficult than it would be for other mages. Instead, I'd get Céline back to greatness the same way she got there originally, Emblem synergies. After chapter 14, we'll get Byleth, who fits with Céline perfectly. Mystical units give magic +4 with Instruct or Dancing, which isn't the best bonus, but is certainly fantastic. Divine Pulse uses luck to boost staff hit rates, which makes Céline a fantastic offensive staff user. Turns out luck wasn't so bad after all. Byleth's item for mystical units is Thyrsus, which adds +2 range to tomes. That's perfect for a secondary combat unit. Counterattacking longbows or 3-range L-Surge are both nice, but you don't need them every turn. As an early game unit, Céline can inherit the best support skills early, so she's better at doing this than someone like Pandreo. Céline can free him up to be great at primary combat. To be clear, Céline doesn't have to be with Byleth, and Byleth doesn't have to be with Céline. Many teams want other bonuses or flying dances with Byleth, and Céline can work well with other secondary emblems like Corrin and Sigurd. Either way, I think it's fair to say that Céline usually has to take a step back from the front lines as the game goes on, so that she can thrive in that less demanding role. In the early game, Céline's an excellent Swiss Army knife with an early Levin Sword and Master Seal. In the mid and late game, she's a great user of emblems that help her fill her role without being a superstar. In her supports, we see that Céline's T-fixation and gentle demeanor belie her fierce protectiveness. I think being a step behind the front lines, but ready to strike at a moment's notice or support her allies, fits her perfectly. Celica is the first magic-oriented emblem, although Marth and Sigurd aren't terrible on magic users who can use the Levin Sword. Resonance and her magic bonus make magical offense much more powerful in the early game. She gets good bonuses with mystical units for even more damage. She also boosts strength, so she's tailor-made for Céline in the early game. Celica is not quite as straightforwardly great as Marth or Sigurd. She lacks the generally applicable skills they do. Holy Stance is awful, and while Favorite Food is a great skill, it's not great on Celica. There are much better targets for one of your packed meals. We'll have to dive a little deeper to unlock her potential. In the early game, the key to maximizing Celica is Warp Ragnarok. This lets you warp across the map and attack with a 15 might tome. On mystical units with 4 movement, this is a huge boost to your army's mobility, and because it warps, it can bypass walls or terrain. Much like Override, the game sets up a few great places to use it in the next few maps. Even without planning those out, having a huge magical nuke that can't miss and can't be counterattacked is quite helpful for boss kills. In the late game, Ragnarok's 15 might is no longer good enough to offset the fact that Warp Ragnarok doesn't double, and you'll struggle to find one-hit kills or places you can warp safely. Luckily for Celica, the late game features tons of corrupted enemies, and so Seraphim becomes incredible. It's one of the better weapons to upgrade with your limited crystals. There are a few easier ways to hit the late game benchmark. Throughout the game, Echo should be something you remember to use when you can. These separate echoes trigger chain attacks twice, letting you reach a kill threshold you may not have before. It can also let a unit clean up 2 foes at once, which nicely complements engage attacks that weaken a large area. As most attacks that say they deal a fixed percentage of your total damage, Echo doesn't activate skills like Divinely Inspiring twice. It's only part of the base damage calculation. Celica is always good, as all emblems are. She only feels as good as Sigurd or Marth when you can really make the most of Warp Ragnarok, and as that becomes harder, she'll feel more and more like Seraphim with extra steps. We'll have a lot of fun using Celica, but I think in an average casual run, she's one of the tamer emblems. Louis is the first armored unit we get. Armored units can't be broken by enemies, so only having lances isn't so bad. Louis will tank physical hits with ease. His personal ability conditionally adds extra damage negation. He's also one of the stronger units in the game. Unfortunately, he'll get doubled and destroyed by enemy mages, which limits his ability to be truly great. Especially in maddening, late game physical enemies are also strong enough to scare him. Enemy chain attacks also cramp his style. You don't kill enemies as they attack so they can't chain after. Many late game formations are set up to deal a death by 1,000 cuts. On maddening, units won't attack if they see 0 expected damage. That means a fully armor-clad Louis won't be able to solo everything efficiently, but it does give him utility for map control. Engage uses reinforcements to add time pressure, usually not side objectives or hard turn limits. There are many places Louis can hold off enemy hordes and give your other units some breathing space to accomplish the main objective. By the time enemy stats start to spiral out of control, and face tanking becomes a lot of effort, he can transition to Great Knight, Halberdier, or another class that can use his high strength. He'll have the same secondary emblem user role that Etier does because of that high strength. Sigurd is a popular combination, but he's good with Leaf, Hector, or Tiki as well. None of those are particularly high demand emblems. Louis is easy to fit on a team. Louis' place in the metagame varies more with your playstyle than most units. He's only a truly great primary combat unit on hard mode, because his dire speed and physical offense make one-rounding benchmarks near impossible. He can still be great at combat early on, like Céline without the upfront investment, and like her, he can become a great secondary combat unit later. There are several runs of Engage. Louis is the MVP, carrying the early game and whacking bosses late game. I don't use Louis much. If I'm being honest, I don't like his character, and I enjoy playing the early game faster than Louis prefers. Louis isn't as special as some players think. They see a unit who can carry combat with an emblem early, and then do a boss HP bar in a single round using engage attacks later on, which is undeniably a great package, but they don't see how other characters can achieve the same goals with the same resources at a faster pace. Conversely, much of what I'll achieve with other characters could also be done by Louis, and he's more than worth his deployment slot from now through endgame if you're inclined to use him. If you've played previous Fire Emblem games, early Flyer sounds a lot more promising than early Armored Knight or early Archer. Chloé will not let you down. She's very fast and generally well-rounded, but her strength is shaky. Unlike some of her forebears, she has great HP and respectable bulk, so you don't need to carefully tiptoe around enemies. Chloé's a workhorse who can dart around the map and deal with all sorts of problems. Chloé's great in basically every class. She is excellently distributed and generally high growth. Her class promotions of Griffin and Wyvern are both excellent, as usual. She can do the Martial Master Erica thing better than Fram due to mixed offenses and incredible speed. On top of that, her huge HP pool helps avoid getting one-shot, and she gets a damage-boosting personal skill that is worth 8 damage if you quadruple. I've seen people recommend her in general. That's how you know she can do anything. She's even the best Mage Knight and Sage we've seen so far, which brings me to her magic growth. I said Clan was better off as a mage, despite having a 35% strength growth to his 10% magic. Chloé has 35% magic and 25% strength, and so I think to really maximize Chloé, you need to have a magic option as the game goes on. As a sword griffin, she can use a physical sword against mages and 11 sword against everyone else, while flying and having staff access. That's a recipe for an incredibly versatile unit that can do whatever needs doing on a given map, and what I would recommend as her best build. You do miss dealing with mages on enemy phase using a javelin, but waiting until after Chapter 17 for the Flame Lance, a significantly worse weapon than the Levin Sword, is not ideal. I would stick with Sword Griffin. In the early game, Chloé works well with all of the emblems. Physical Chloé generally does need strength, so Roy or Three Houses are both ideal later on, but those are in high demand. Mixed Chloé can use basically any emblem competently. Erica's probably my favorite pick. Her eclectic bonuses fit well with a generalist powerhouse like Chloé. Chloé is our first truly meta unit. If I were making a tier list right now, she'd be in her own tier at the top compared to the units we've seen so far. What does that mean for you? If you want to make the game easier for yourself, I would recommend funneling your early resources into Alear, because you have to use her, and Chloé, because you get to use her. Do you have to use Chloé to enjoy the game? Of course not. Let's say you don't want to make the game easier for yourself. Does that mean you should bench Chloé because she's a crutch for noobs and you're not a sheeple beholden to the tier list? Definitely not. Using Chloé makes it easier to express yourself as a player, not less. Think of team building as spending a certain budget of suboptimality. If you use the worst possible builds, you probably won't have much fun, same as if you do the same perfect meta strategy every run. Using Chloé frees up some of that budget for other units who may require more investment. Instead of hogging the best stuff and dominating the game, she can be an unsung hero holding her own with less than her fair share of the game's resources. You can give your favorite character a fabled Lance of Legend, Marth's Ring, stat boosters, and an early Master Seal, and Chloé can still work with a stick you found on the ground and your first spawn ring pull. On a run like this one, where we're trying to spread out our resources evenly across our team, Chloé's can split the difference. We won't have her outshine our other units by rocking her best build, but we'll give her enough resources to be a great team member in a less optimal setup. Simply put, Chloé is fantastic, and almost no matter how you play, she can make your run more fun. Maybe folk food is more nutritious than it sounds.
Look at that house. The gate is wide open. We'd better warn them to lock up so the corrupted don't get in.
This map is constructed to show off our new emblems. With Sigurd's Gallop, we can send Alfred rocketing across the map. And with his Rider's Bane, Alfred gets a clean one-hit KO on the enemy holding a hand axe. This forces a reset if it misses, so we do it first.
If this love is a crime,
We use the first canter of many, many more. This is the hardest menu in the game. I take a second to psych myself up.
I've got this.
Alear engages with Marth, equips the rapier, and then gets to village. You can't engage after other things, so make sure to do it first.
What's that? Monsters here? Gosh, all, thanks for letting me know. Take this. Might come in useful.
Emblems Celica, it is an honor. So it was your voice I heard on the way from the castle. I am glad you're here with me.
I feel the same, Céline. I will fight by your side from now on. Together, we will protect that which you hold dear.
Thank you. With Celica's help, I ought to be able to reach...
Céline will really make sure we put together that we can warp Ragnarok over the river. She has to engage first, then get the javelin from Alear, and then she can warp Ragnarok to her retainer side.
A great power within. We have united, haven't we? My resolve is strong. I will protect my people. I will protect everyone. I am resolved to fight for peace. Hold on, you two. I am on my way.
She rocks the pink hair, doesn't she? I think they mean for you to warp to the fort, but we have other plans. Céline will die if both enemies attack her, so Louis has to guard her flank. He can take the javelin while doing that and have a chat. This is why Céline's using fire instead of Celica's Seraphim. If she kills the first attacker, she'll die to the second.
Princess Céline, how relieved I am to see you unharmed. You seem different.
The divine dragon brought Emblem Celica forth from my ring. I am imbued with her strength.
Pardon? The divine dragon is here?
Indeed. I will explain everything later. For now, let us restore order here. I promise I will never leave you behind again. Come, let us fight together.
As you wish. Princess Céline and Emblem Celica. What a pair.
Chloé is set up to dominate enemy mages, and just like Etier with Flyers last map, the game showcases that with their cleanly one-run in-up. We do just that, keeping out of range of the Flyer for now.
I'm sorry.
Etier, Boucheron, and Clan can team up to get a kill on the dude to the north. We attack with Etier first, avoiding one Boucheron chain attack, so Clan can get the kill. You could change this to feed someone else. Even if Boucheron misses this, so long as he hits the chain attack or Clan crits, it'll be fine.
As your steward. I'll take this.
We want Alir to deal effective damage with the rapier, but the lance fighter would break her and prevent that. To fix that, we have Fram chain guard. Vander covers her flank. Chill, Céline. Chill. Chill. Awesome. This is thankfully the last turn we need these small chances to break our way or face a reset. If Céline had crit there, she would have died to the second fighter.
I live to fight again.
These houses are ripe for the picking. Time for a good old-fashioned village pillage.
It's the crystal. It's glowing.
Where did you get that?
It was in the ring vault. Vander found it after the battle at Lethos Castle. Why? Do you know what this is?
A draconic time crystal. An artifact capable of reversing time itself. There is a limit to its power, but still, it could give us a keen advantage.
Time crystal, huh? So it's not just a pretty piece of jewelry.
Since we have it, I suggest we put it to use. Give it a try.
Boucheron picks up the hand axe from Alfred. That makes his chain attacking much easier to set up. He tries for the kill.
I'm happy to help.
Alfred then rushes in to override the enemy's attack in Céline. The Cavalier had a 50-50 chance of ending up west of Louis, where Alfred could have killed him too, but will settle for a single kill. It's easy to think that lance power is something that you get for free with Sigurd, but it's just a skill you can inherit. Alir kills the lance fighter. Vander baits the next foe.
afford to lose.
I had a strategy that involved Fram chain guarding again and got my wires crossed, but this is a mistake. She should just heal. Céline finishes off the Cavalier that Alfred didn't get the Skewer. She'll get Magic plus 3, which is an inheritable skill, but is also just a stat buff you get for free with the ring.
Allow your soul the rest it deserves.
Louis moves to the square setup to showcase his ability to choke off enemies and takes a swing. This axe fighter is supposed to show you that Louis can't be broken, and he'll do just that. Chloé finishes off the next mage. With her big HP pool, she can handle some chip damage. What time is it?
It's tea time! You were beautiful while you lasted.
You only get bond rank on player phase, so I'm trying to limit how much happens on enemy phase for this map. In particular, you get extra bond rank experience for being engaged, killing a foe, using a command skill like Echo, and most of all for an engage attack. We'd like Aaliyah and Martha to hit bond rank 10 by the end of next mat, so we'll be trying to feed her a steady stream of kills. She can use Lodestar Rush to finish off the armored fighter.
Here until the end. Fate has brought us here. This is it! I live to fight again.
I will protect you.
Céline finishes off the fighter who attacked Louis. Louis heals, using Celine's personal for a little more HP.
I want to help you.
I'm still quite capable.
Etier continues her crusade against Pegasi, while Clan and Boucheron move towards the boss.
I can still do more.
This is nothing.
losing ground, are we? Well, that's easily remedied. Release the corrupted!
Alear takes another kill on player phase for that sweet, sweet bond rank.
Dream well.
Fram heals up on the fort.
I'm not even tired.
Etier waits for new prey. Boucheron uses Gentle Flower.
Understood.
You activate energy tiles no matter what action you do, so long as you end your turn on the square. Céline can heal up, no problem. Alfred can even canter onto a tile after taking a kill.
Nice.
The two armors attack Louis, setting themselves up for a reckoning with Seraphim. Alear 2 hits the flyer, and we want both of these to happen on player phase.
Whatever you say.
Whatever you require.
Louis gets some chick experience I should have probably skipped.
My will is firm.
Céline can pull off a rare treat with Echo, killing 2 enemies from full in a single player action. Seraphim's effective damage against armored knights does wonders.
Allow your soul the rest it deserves. I want to help you.
Etier attacks the flyer, which is animated surprisingly well. Chloe's hurt, but she's still able to get this kill. You could reverse the order to give Etier the experience.
I'm sorry.
We'll get through this.
Alfred visits the village. We shake down the villagers for money?
Engage.
Thank you for warning me. Here, use this to bring peace to our land.
I'm all set.
Boucheron baits the mage to attack him.
If this love is a crime,
Fram sportingly keeps the flyer alive for a Lear to kill.
I'll manage. I won't forget you.
You picked me!
Etier heads towards the action. Alfred can get a kill on this mage and retreat to safety, while Boucheron and Louis funnel Rodin into a predictable position.
I'll take this.
I will protect you.
I can keep going.
Céline can warp back into the fray at her leisure, so she takes a moment to let Chloé heal up to full.
Soon I'll be a legend. The man who captured the Princess of Firene.
Etier can weaken the soldier. Because Clan is next to her, Chloé now has 2 extra damage from Fairy Tale Folk, which is just enough to put this kill together.
What a lovely scene.
Louis needs to get out of Alfred's way, so he takes a pot shot at the guy in the fort. We only need one of these attacks to hit.
Let me help.
Alfred's override never misses, and with his rounded out path adding momentum damage, he gets the kill.
One strike will decide it all.
Boucheron goes for a kill on the mage.
That was good training.
Remember, you can't rewind anything that ends the map. Clan could kill the boss with a crit, so we do this only after everyone else has had a chance to get experience. You could have Clan attack the other soldier if you wanted to ensure Céline can get this boss kill, but I like living dangerously. For completion's sake, let's have them chat.
Chloé, I am relieved to see After that, the Divine One summoned Emblems Celica from within my ring.
A noble dragon summoning ancient spirits to save the day. That sounds just like a fairy tale.
It does. Now that I have this power, let's give this story a happy ending, shall we?
Let's do it.
My apologies.
I would have won, you know, if they'd given me real soldiers.
Our first non-O'Lear MVP. The Fyrenes royalty will enjoy the spotlight for a while.
There's no need to be afraid. It's gone.
You saved my life. Thank you.
It was nothing, really. I only did what anyone else would do.
Are you here by yourself?
I am. I saw the fighting and thought I could help.
You're braver than I am. I can't stand the corrupted. I was so startled I couldn't think. You really did save my life.
I see.
Oh, I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm the Divine Dragon.
What a lovely name. I'm Vale.
Vale.
Might I interrupt?
What is it?
Even with the corrupted gone, it may not be safe for her out here. Perhaps we should escort her home, or to an inn.
That's a good idea. Hey, Vale, do you live around here? Huh? She's gone.
Divine One!
Céline, did you see a girl pass this way? Small, with long hair, barefoot?
No, I'm afraid I didn't see anyone matching that description.
Okay, thanks. Did you need something?
I wanted to thank you. Alfred told me that you accepted Fyrene's request for aid, and your help in the battle was the difference between victory and defeat. Thank you. Truly.
Don't mention it. Alfred and I are friends. I was happy to help.
Friends? He said that? Imagine speaking so casually with the Divine Dragon. Please, allow me to apologize on his behalf.
There's no need to put me on a pedestal. I just woke up, and the world is new to me. I make mistakes like anyone.
Is that so? I thought surely the Divine Dragon would be an all-seeing, all-powerful being. But here I find that you are rather more human than I expected. Perhaps we can be friends.
Then what do you say, Céline? Friends?
I would be honored.
As everyone knows, dogs are the best animals, and we will grab any we can find. Do make sure not to miss this one. We'll enjoy the verdant countryside while collecting the rest. Fierne Castle awaits us, and we'll put together everything we've learned so far. That will be exciting, so make sure to stay tuned.
Hey, folks. Mind if we bend your ear a minute? Name's Durton. I'm an armorer. And this here's Anis, purveyor of goods. We saw you trading thumps with those things. Figured you might be in the market for supplies.
Yes. If you need, we'd be happy to provide you with quality weapons and items. Anything to defeat those creatures. They pose a terrible threat to traveling merchants like us.
How would you feel about moving to our base? You can sell your wares from there.
Divine One?
What? We don't have any facilities. These two could be a good addition.
You're gonna let us open shops at your base?
If you'd like to. We'll need plenty of weapons and items from here on out. It's a haven. You won't find any creatures there.
You got yourself a bargain. Can't wait to do business together.
Thank you for this. I will do my utmost to ensure you receive the finest items.